Well, hello there. How you going today? Hope you're having a fantastic time in this strange realm, right? Things are getting weird out there, ramping up a bit. Yes, thank you for joining me for a little stroll through what's going on in the outside world, right? Obviously, the Middle East, a lot of talk of WW3, a lot of yeah, interesting different points of views about what's happening there. So, going to have a bit of a look at the whole Middle East and Iran and what Iran used to be and why is this all happening now. So let's jump into it.
Guys, the world now has a 3,000-mile war zone. You see, if you map all of the countries dragged into this Iran war by one form or another, starting at Cyprus, stretching all the way down to Pakistan and Afghanistan, who have declared open war last week, that's roughly 3,000 miles of continuous conflict areas. Journalist Richard Engel from Sky News explained it very well.
There was now war from Israel all the way to India.
For perspective, that's a distance further than the entire stretch of the United States. Now, to clarify, that doesn't mean that every country is an all-out battleground, but it does include all of the nations directly or indirectly dragged into this ongoing conflict in the region. And they said 26 was going to be the new 2016.
Yes, well, it's happening. At least they're trying to make it happen, right? Obviously, Iran, so that I'm sure there's a lot of connections there, but lots of oil, gas, it's resource rich. So that's one reason. But I think what's playing a bigger part here is, political, but more religious prophecy engineering, shall we call it? Like, I'm not really sure what it is. It looks like a playbook, right? And of course, this is just my opinion, guys. Please don't believe everything I say or anything you hear on the videos. Make your own mind up. Just take on the information, come to your own conclusions. But, in yesterday's video or the day before, maybe, I mentioned that the small hats, the ones running at the top, running that at the top aren't actually, they're a different people than most of the Israelites, as far as I can tell. They're the Khazarians, right? So why are they following the doctrine of a religion that's not even really theirs, that they just took on? I don't know. So there's a lot going on here, a lot of scripted stuff, right? And of course, uh, last night was a lunar eclipse on a blood moon on the 3rd of the 3rd. And it's been rumored that the full eclipse was at 3:33 a.m. in one part of America. I'm not exactly sure, probably Washington, I don't know. But interesting times. But let me know, what do you think's going on? What is this war all about? What's the underlying story? Because one thing we know for sure is whatever the mainstream is telling us is not the truth. Well, I ran before 1979, basically in the 70s. Did you know it was very westernized, what we would call westernized. Women didn't have to cover themselves. There was no, Sharia law and any of this kind of stuff. It was not a religiously ruled country. It was ruled by a king, the Shah, and basically the Shah was thrown out, toppled in a coup. And we all know what coups are, right? We all know that they're not what we're told. They're always orchestrated by, powers behind, the countries, shall we say. So, the Shah was basically taken out and replaced with a religious leader. That was 1979. So we're talking 46 years ago, 47, under this rule of depression and, women being put as a lower class of the society, basically, complete cut off to technology and all that kind of stuff. And, basically the rest of the world, really, right, under Islamic law. And you do that to people, and then you stir up a bit of conflict, get a bit of war going, and you traumatize them, man. And this is what we've ended up with, a population that are now 47, right, that have lived their whole life in this regime. So this is the bigger story of how they do this. Now they're moving a lot of these people around the world into Western countries, and this is to create division and turmoil, right? Now they get this war going, and they want a religious war. That's what they want. So what we can do is not fall for it, basically, not get involved. Like just say no. That's my opinion, anyway. But let me know yours. What do you think about the Ayatollah Khomeini? Got any thoughts on him? Good, bad? Was he introduced? Just yeah. What do you know about all of this? Let me know in the comments.
In 1979, a revolution topples Iranian ruler Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and with that, a monarchy of more than 2,500 years.
Ich habe zunächst nicht an einem Umbruch geglaubt.
That's the way authoritarian regimes fall. First gradually, and then suddenly.
The Shah's mistake was to want to do too much too fast.
Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Persia's last emperor, was a key figure in world politics in the second half of the 20th century. His fiercest opponent, Ruhollah Khomeini. The Ayatollah becomes the bearer of hope for all those who are against the Shah.
Die beiden sind tatsächlich Gegenpole, so wie ihr gesellschaftliches Bild, so auch ihre beiden Personen.
They became very fierce antagonists, absolutely. And the Shah developed an almost obsession with them.
Their rivalry lasted for almost their entire lives. In the end, the Shah is defeated, the Ayatollah is victorious, and with him, Islamic fundamentalism, a new challenge for world politics.
Yes, well, that's what they tell us, right? A lifelong struggle between, two leaders, or, one leader and one wannabe leader, which way to take the country back to Islamic law, or, keep it where it is. That's what they tell us. But, clearly, the lives of the people in Iran went downhill pretty quick after that regime change as far as their freedoms. So, this is, again, the story they want us to tell. I would say that Iran was looking pretty powerful at that stage. And also, Gaza, right? Back, maybe a bit earlier because, Israel is in what, it took part of Gaza and continues to do the same. But yeah, these countries were getting, advanced. They had a lot of wealth because they had oil, right? And they could have grown up into very strong countries. And some powers didn't want that happening, right? Maybe because their country was close by. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, though.
When the riots began in earnest, no one claimed to be more surprised than the Shah himself. He had devoted his life, he said, to improving conditions for his people. He couldn't understand their ingratitude. He'd initiated land reform, taking apart the absentee landlords' estates and selling them to the sharecroppers who'd worked them. He put his vast personal fortune into the Pahlavi Foundation, a charitable trust which built orphanages, hospitals, and clinics. He used Iran's massive oil wealth to build his dream of an industrialized and powerful nation, the guardian of the Western world's oil supplies, the bulwark against the Soviet Union's subversive forces, a new nation rising out of an only recently discarded feudal age. He consciously built on the tradition of the 2,500-year-old Persian Empire, a nation of which his people and the history books of the future would be proud. It didn't turn out that way. One by one, his projects crumbled. Before the reforms, much of the land was owned by the mullahs, the priests of Iran's official religion, Shiite Islam. They never forgave the Shah. Once condemned by many as corrupt, now purified by relative poverty, the mullahs found it easy to attract followers in their fight against the Shah. Even in the progressive atmosphere of the universities, girls exchanged their blue jeans for the traditional veil and prayed before going into the streets to battle the Shah's army. The riots started a year ago over official criticism of a powerful religious leader, Ayatollah Khomeini. Driven into exile for his part in opposing land reform, he repeatedly called for a violent end to the Shah's modernization plans. The violence spread as more and more Iranians found a cause that satisfied their frustration with the country's new problems. The Shah tried conciliation, releasing opposition leader Karen Sanjabi and negotiating for a compromise solution. He issued a code of conduct for the royal family, a code which admitted that misuse of state funds had been a way of life for his relatives. He ordered an investigation of his Pahlavi Foundation on charges that the once charitable trust had become a royal slush fund. But all the concessions and investigations were too late. The King of Kings was stripped of his power by an unlikely coalition of leftist students, frustrated businessmen, and a once reviled religious leadership. Perhaps, as one of his opponents once put it, he was so intent on pushing his country forward that he forgot about the people in it.
Well, there you go. There's another perspective. The Shah was doing everything he could, right? Rebuilding the country, and it had just come out of feudalism, right? It was basically developing quickly, but I don't know. It's all stories, right? At the end, they said that the businessmen were against the Shah, so that doesn't make sense. How could being under Islamic law help businessmen? But it just looks like to me like a concerted effort to change the viewpoint of people, and especially the young people. And it's interesting that these movements always start in universities, don't they? It's almost like the universities are teaching the rhetoric, right? And I mean, hello, what have we seen going on over the past, gosh, it's, decades now, really, right? With the whole trans agenda. It's crazy. This is how they do things. And then they, start their protests and get their agent provocateurs in there and overthrow the government, really. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a definite coup to me. But let me know what you think. Are you from that area? Do you have family there? Do you know people in Iran? Do you have any more details on this? Because obviously I'm just going off the information I've got so far. Let me know your thoughts.
We've been waiting for this moment 47 years. 47 years. And this is amazing. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you for keeping your word. Thank you. We really needed it.
It's the best day of my life. Hearing this news, Khamenei is dead.
I'm just so excited. It's been for 47 years and it's over. We can't believe it's over.
It's a relief, that anybody gets killed is not really something that you can rejoice. But I know that he wanted to be a murderer. He was ready to be killed. And he deserved what he got.
Ah, well, there you go. People in Iran happy that the Ayatollah is gone. Apparently, I don't know. I got some AI vibes off that video. What do you think? Let me know. Do you think that was real or AI generated? Because it's getting really hard to tell, right? But that's one narrative that's being put out there, at least, that the Iranian people love Trump and Trump's done something good. But, there's easier ways to take out the leader than to bomb the whole country, right? But, I mean, the possibilities there, right? Trump could be a good guy. All of this white hat talk could be real. I don't know, right? It's an edge. I definitely like to think that there's someone or some people, some organization helping us, or at least getting ready to, take down these crims. But we'll have to see, right? But I think ultimately it's up to us. There's no one coming to save us, right? Because we're already here. It's us. We're here to save ourselves. And this is really the apocalypse, the grand unveiling, right? The lifting of the veil. So we're just starting to see what's always been going on, and we're starting to see all the plans behind it and the storylines and what they want us to believe. And so it's more important than ever, right, to be autodidactic and to come to your own conclusions. Get as much information and points of view as you can on a topic and reach your own conclusions. But of course, when it comes to war, my thoughts are it's always bad. Always bad. And guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope you're enjoying the videos. If you are enjoying them, please leave me a like and leave me your comments. And of course, share it round, hype it up if you can, and all that good stuff. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button.
In case you have no idea why the Iranian people are celebrating the fact that the U.S. and Israel just took out the Iranian regime leader, this will shed some light on the topic.
Again, Iranians are not Arab Islamists. They're Iranians. They've always been Iranians. They have occupied by a regime that is not their own, by a regime that is not speaking their language, by a regime, and let's make that very, very clear, because sometimes it's like hard for us to understand what happened inside of Iran. The Islamist Ayatollahs came to our country, and the first thing that they did, they took our flag and they started to write on it with Arabic writing, which is not Persian. It's not our language on there. They took out our symbol of the lion and the sun and replaced it with an Allahu Akbar Islamic symbol in the middle. Just imagine Islam is taking over Washington, taking the American flag, taking our flag, keeping the colors in there and putting an Islamist symbol on it and an Arabic writing on it. Would you think that's our flag? Would you think, oh, this is the government of America now? You would be like, this is an Arab Islamist jihadist occupation. They took down our flag. Then they started to replace everything that's Iranian. Our ministries, our churches, our synagogues, our Jewish community. We had the biggest Jewish community inside of the Middle East, outside of Israel. They wiped them out. They wiped out our Christians, our Zoroastrians. They forced people to convert to Islam. They changed our language in our schools. They started teaching Arabic. Our national anthem, they replaced the national anthem with some weird anthem that no Iranian can even identify with, because every other word of it is Islamic.
47 years of oppressive occupation, and now the head of that oppression is gone. That's why they're celebrating.
Wow, that's why they're celebrating. Yeah, it's a hard one. We're just getting into this, I guess. So more information will come out. But again, I find it a bit hard to believe that people would be celebrating if their country was just being attacked by missiles and there was lots of devastation and people unalived. So we're getting definitely two different, viewpoints here, right? One is that, the Iranians are really happy and they're not worried at all that they got attacked. The other one is that they've blown the crap out of the country, right? And it's now retaliating. And, America and Israel are saying that they're going to ramp up the attacks, basically. And then there's all these other countries getting involved, Lebanon, UAP, all these, Middle Eastern countries that are in that region. So they're definitely trying to push a narrative of war. But I mean, we don't really know. Well, I don't really know, what's going on, what extent this all is, how much of it's real, how much of it's not. Because, we're so used to fake videos, videos from other times being put up as a current video and, doctored photo, all this stuff. We just don't know. So if you do know, if you know any people in these countries, and you've got, some first-hand information, please leave it below in the comments so that we can all, understand what's going on here. Like, is this a real massive conflict? Is it just TV? We've got to ask that question. I mean, I'm sure something's going on, and I'm not saying that it's not, and it's horrific, right? And let's just hope no other people get hurt or animals. So yeah, leave me any info you've got so that we can all get a better viewpoint and a different perspective on this situation.
I think this moment in time represents the apex of the Israeli agenda to build a greater Israel and to wage wars of annihilation, not just against the Palestinian people, but against any forces that could rise to stand in the way of Israel being the dominant military force in the Middle East. It's not that Israel is saying, we're going to march on Tehran and we're going to annex Iran. It's that they need Iran to be destroyed to make the rest of the project easier. I think that the Israelis view Donald Trump as their greatest chance in history to push through a project for a greater Israel. What they want to do is severely weaken or utterly destroy any forces or countries in the region that will stand in the way of the next phase of Israel's war of conquest and annihilation.
Nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Atomic bombs.
We are talking about 3 consistent decades of Benjamin Netanyahu falsely claiming that Iran is on the verge, days away or weeks away or months away from building a nuclear bomb. And so what we're seeing right now is that Netanyahu is getting what he's been agitating for since the 1990s. They don't need it to be tied up into a neat bow. If you utterly destroy all of Iran's institutions and you leave that society in tatters, regime change could look like pure chaos, civil war, and from Donald Trump's perspective, there is a ticking clock on his time in office, and the Israelis don't know what is going to come next. And so what you've seen is the utter obliteration of Gaza. You see an aggressive attempt to annex greater parts of the occupied West Bank. You saw the wiping out of the upper echelons of Hezbollah in Lebanon, bombing the entire conventional military capability and capacity of Syria to ensure that whatever Arab government takes power won't have an ability to defend itself against Israel and its wars of expansion or conquest. The Israelis definitely want to see a massively weakened Iranian state that will make it much easier for them to pursue their agenda across the rest of the region.
Well, I mean, I think we all, understand that this is probably really what's going on. It's just a regime change to get, someone that they control in there so that they can control not only the wealth of the country, but they will then control that country, right? It'll be another state of the Israelites. God, self-censoring, it's interesting, right? It's always the ones that you can't talk about that are the ones behind it. And, this is, a kind of a theme, right, that we've seen going through this video is there is, a country that was formed in the 50s in the Middle East that is hell-bent on expansion. He wants to take over and control the whole region. Right? And it is a very, rich region in fossil fuels, gas, oil, all that kind of stuff. But, there's obviously more to it as well. And this is really the end game, I guess. We've seen the European Union come to fruition. They also want a North American Union, South American, African, Australian, or Australasian, I guess, Asian, and I guess a Middle East. Is this what they're pushing towards, these super states that they want? And I guess the other question we need to ask is, did they have a central bank? So I've just typed in, does Iran have a central bank? Central Bank of Iran is a government organization that conducts a monetary policy. So down here, it's who owns, and it says it's 100% state-owned. So let's see what Wikipedia says, but it looks like it's not, a central bank. The Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the CBI, also known as Bank Markazi, was established under the Iranian Banking Monetary Act 1980, serves as a banker to the Iranian government, and has exclusive right to issue banknotes. And the governor of the Central Bank of Iran. Okay, so I don't know. Do you know? Let me know in the comments. It looks like it's called a central bank, but but might not be tied into, the central banks because it's saying it's 100% owned and it's called the Bank of Iran. So the quest continues. Does Iran have a central bank, a small hat owned central bank?
Iran was ruled by kings for more than 2,500 years. The Pahlavi dynasty governed from 1925 until 1979. It was founded by a native Iranian military officer. The state was rapidly modernized, centralized, and secularized. Political repression and inequality fueled growing unrest. In 1979, the monarchy collapsed during the Islamic Revolution. A religious system replaced the secular state. The Shah's son, Reza Pahlavi, went into exile and prepared for his return. Today, he calls for secular democracy and free elections. He says Iranians must choose their system themselves. The question now is who decides Iran's future?
Who decides Iran's future? Let's hope it's Iran. Clearly, there's a couple of forces, especially one main force that's trying to make the rules for them. And that is the name of the people that cannot be spoken, right? Interesting. But, there is, a reason, right? That these people have been doing this for a very, very, very long time. It's the agenda. In my opinion, they are the invaders. They are. They are the one who have changed our society, who've taken over all control systems, right? Education, money, entertainment, music, everything that influences, and medicine, everything, right? Everything all leads to the same people. And another thing I was just thinking in watching that last clip is, you know, we know that wars are there to destroy the infrastructure as well, right? The old world infrastructure. Is this another reason why they went in and had a regime change and basically let the country run down, right? Because, what does modernizing mean? Were they just getting everything running again? You know, I mean, and then they had to be shut down. I don't know, it's another thought to throw in the mix. And just a quick warning before this video, guys, it's a bit disturbing and gross, so proceed with caution.
418 AD. Baronius reports the crucifixion of a boy by the Jews at Im, between Aleppo and Antioch. 419 AD. In the Syrian district of Imnestar, between Chalcis and Antioch, the Jews tied a boy to a cross on a holiday and flogged him to death. 425 AD. Baronius reports the crucifixion of a boy. 614 AD. After the conquest of Jerusalem, the Jews purchased for a small amount of money 90,000 prisoners from the Persian king Chosroes II and murdered them all in the most disgusting of ways. 1071 AD. Several Jews from Blois crucified a child during the Easter celebration, put his body into a sack and threw it into the Loire. Count Theobald had the guilty ones burned alive. 1144 AD. In Norwich, during Passover, 12-year-old Saint William was tied by the local Jews, hanged from a cross, and his blood drained from a wound in his side. The Jews hid the corpse in the nearby woods. They were surprised by a local citizen, Elverjus, who was bribed with money to keep quiet. Despite this, the crime still became notorious.
All right, so, this is the thing. This has been going on all throughout our written history. It has. We've got these stories everywhere, and they're doing the same things today, right? We all know about the E-files and the spirit cooking and all the stories and the demonic, rituals in movies and in music performances. It's the same thing, right? It's the same people. Now, these are the people who have invaded our realm, in my opinion. And so it's not just, this is all based on the best facts that we can get. So all they're doing at the moment is the same thing. War is a ritual, right? It's a sacrifice, is what it is. So that's going on at the moment too. And again, of course, last night the blood moon, this is when they love to do their sacrificial stuff. But it's all a bit deep and dark, isn't it? It's not a happy thing, but it is going on. So we do need to, get, a good perspective on what's happening. And of course, again, the best perspective is to just say no. Like, let's not go into this at all because they need us. They need us to fight the wars, right? To be the fodder, to be the sacrifices. So let's work, let's meditate and pray on everyone saying no, right? All the military standing down because that's what we need. It's us. We're the ones who are here to save ourselves. But there you go, guys. I hope you got something from that. Please give me a like, leave me your comments. And of course, if you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. And most of all, don't get down on this stuff. We are the change. We need to be the change we want to see. Where attention goes, energy flows. All these things, I believe, are true. So let's focus on what we want, on building the new world, right? And not complying or contracting at all with the current system. And most of all, stay awesome because you are. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Balloon from the rock.
It's fun.
표정이 왜 이래?